Hey guys, Steve Guttenberg here. I am the audiophiliac, and I have a very, very, very special guest today, Kevin Deal from Upscale Audio. So thanks, Kevin, for being here.
Sure.
And we got a lot to cover. We actually did a pre-interview, so we have a roadmap for this. And one of the things, because Kevin is in a, I wouldn't say unique situation, but an unusual situation that you have a brick and mortar store in I forgot the city that you're in.
Laverne, California.
Okay. And you're an online dealer and you're a distributor, right?
Correct.
You wear more hats than that?
We are very, very busy. Yes.
So, because we were talking about the audio shows, like, the Axpona show's been, I think, canceled, right? Officially canceled? I don't want to say it's canceled if it's not.
Rescheduled till August, but I mean, I'm not going in August.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you. I mean, we're going to have to make adjustments for that, but that's, right. We're waiting to see what happens with that.
So I'm thinking I'm not going to go. A lot of people aren't going to go. A lot of attendees wouldn't go. It doesn't look healthy in different ways. Healthy. There may not be any shows this year. There may not be a CES in 2021. So not that anybody cares about CES in the audio business anymore, it seems. But could brick and mortar basically, I don't want to use the word take advantage, but could this be an opening for a resurgence of brick and mortar dealers, at least here in the US, maybe worldwide, that where people were relying on shows to see and touch gear that they were thinking about buying, maybe dealers could offer that same service in a much better way than an experience, as they say, than going to an actual show.
Mm-hmm.
You think is that a crazy idea?
This is what I think. I think that there is a feeling in high-end audio that is this conventional wisdom that gets thrown around all the time, that high-end audio is on the downside because of the old stereophile, or not audiophile guys that are, getting older and they're dying off and the young people aren't into it. And that is so overblown. It is absolutely opposite of that.
Okay.
This is the most exciting time ever, I think, for high-end audio. And what we're seeing is that people do things a little bit different. So I don't know why people think that there's a downturn. I mean, we are busier than stink with turntables and with phono and analog and tubes. I mean, I'm so tired just trying to keep up with it, especially now. Getting to your question, there are dealers that are doing really good business right now that have brick and mortar stores. But they're doing value-added things, and I think that you have to do that. The days of just having a store and waiting for somebody to come in and then you go play some stuff and then they buy it, it's over.
What kind of value-added stuff do you have?
Oh, well, first off, I think it's a matter of telling people sometimes don't buy something. And we do that more often than you might think.
Okay. Because
people do the wrong things. And if my employees, they're not on commission, and I tell them, if it's a bad idea, tell them that. Uh-huh. And customers appreciate that. Uh-huh. But a lot of things about speaker setup and helping them after the sale, streamers, especially for people that are not computer literate, helping them with that. But I think that you can spend $50,000 and have a horrible sounding system pretty easy if somebody doesn't show you how to do it. And they're not going to get that from a show. And dealers have to drive that home and find a way to make sure they service the customer afterwards. And then, of course, in the case of analog, people want to buy analog from a place that's going to provide service in setting it up. When we spoke yesterday, you had felt that people were making purchase decisions, I guess, at regional shows. And I guess I didn't really think about it that much. I thought they just went there to look. You can't judge a speaker in a hotel room. You can't. Really? It's a joke, and there's people talking all the time. You can go look at it, but that's about it. And it's fun, but I don't know if people make purchase decisions that way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to come off as an old person. It's kind of hard not to. But the thing is, because I did it for 16 years selling high-end audio at Sound by Singer in New York, I felt my connection to customers and offering them advice and not just not playing just what they asked for, but to sort of get inside their head and figure out the best possible solution for them. I thought that that's my job. That's what I'm here to do. I'm basically like an audio shrink. I get into your head. I listen to what you say you want. I play it for you. We adjust accordingly. Like, oh, I want something that sounds neutral. And then I play them something neutral and they go, no, I think it's too cold sounding. I say, oh, okay. So then I adjust accordingly. It's a dialogue. It's a conversation that happens between a good salesman. I'm not saying I was the best salesman, but between a salesman that's doing their job well and a prospective customer. And then you come to a conclusion and hopefully a happy result. All right, so that's a hard thing to do when you're just, adding something to your shopping cart online. You're just buying something because you read or watched a very positive review of a product. And I'm a reviewer now, but I would say trust a salesman before you would trust a reviewer. And that seems to be sort of counterintuitive to what a lot of people think. This is well, the salesman's making commission, maybe not yours, and he wants to just sell stuff. But I think a good salesman is one that wants happy customers that are going to come back and buy more stuff. So selling them stuff that they don't want or need is not, it may be a short-term goal, but it's not a good long-term goal. So I say trust salespeople who earn some credibility with you over a reviewer, because they're there and I'm way over here kind of thing. Right? So that's my take on it, because I've done both. I've been a salesman and I am a reviewer. So
the salesperson should ask you a lot of questions. Absolutely. If you're a consumer, the salesperson should ask everything that you've had in the past and why you liked it or you didn't like it. Then they should ask you what else you've looked at and what you liked. And then if you liked it, why didn't you buy it? If we don't want to sell them something that they're not going to be happy with. And this is an emotional thing. For me, it is. I'm a gearhead, and I think you are too. In fact, I know you are.
I'll tell you something. When I was starting as a salesman, this guy came in the store. He tells me he's a chef. No, a waiter in a big deal restaurant in New York. So he wasn't a wealthy guy, he was a waiter, but it was in a nice restaurant, And in 1979 or so, I sold him a $500 cartridge. And it blew my mind, because $500 then would be like $2,000 now, something like that, right? It was a lot of money. And I was like, So I learned not to judge like, okay, this guy's a waiter, he's not going to buy that cartridge. Because he lived in New York, he didn't have a car, he didn't have kids, his audio was his BMW. Think of it that way, right? He's like, no, I want to have a nice hi-fi. This is pre-digital. I want to have a nice turntable, a nice cartridge. So he dropped between his cartridge and his arm and his turntable. He was then spending close to $3,000. So no, people who prioritize audio don't have to be wealthy to buy really nice things. I think that's my message at this point.
Yeah.
So when you were, let's say, 18, 19, 20 years old, what kind of hi-fi did you have?
I was bit by the hi-fi bug at the age of 12 when I hacked my mom's console stereo with a pair of box speakers and made my first giant headphones. That was 12 years old.
Okay.
16,
I thought 20, you were down the road, man. You knew a lot by then.
14, I had a Concord stereo with some crappy speakers. Then I had a Marantz 2215 with a pair of house brand speakers that I bought from Cal Stereo. I was buying anything I could afford. And that's why I still love this. I get to open new stuff every day if I want to. And my wife will tell you, at our old house, look, if any of the people watching this video has a significant other, man or wife, complaining, tell them to call my wife. We had 5 power amps in the bedroom and 2 preamps in our bedroom at the old house. I've scaled down a little bit in the new house. So I had, I had Rotel separates, back in the early days with Dahlquist DQM9s. I had so much fun with those. But I was always rotating through
Wait,
things.
not DQ10s?
I've had DQ10s. I've got pallets of things at my store called Kevin's DNI. I've got 2 pairs of quad. I have this fantasy in my head that I'll retire and do nothing but lock myself up in my new sound room and play with ESL 57s, and I've got you name it. I mean, I've got a pair of brand new Macintosh MC75s from the 60s that have never been plugged in. Brand new gold line KT88s in it. I'm a collector of stuff. You know, it's fun. I can't tell you how, and that's the thing. I mean, to me, this is not a job. I can do it from morning till night, opening up new stuff, trying different tubes, you know. And I think that most of our customers are the same way. Well, I told you yesterday about the kid that came into our store and went to our headphone display.
Yeah, that's great. Tell that story. I like that story.
So we have a really nice headphone experience center. So this kid comes in the ugliest Honda Civic that was just beat up, no hubcaps, primer, just worn out. And he goes, yeah, I want to hear the Abyss, and I want to hear the expensive Focal, the $4,000 Focals. And so my headphone guy goes over, and this kid's got a backpack, and I go, oh my God, here we go. I go, well, I just got to kind of keep an eye on him. So I went up to him, I go, hey dude, welcome, hope you're having a good time. Is it okay if we put your bag over in the office here? I just don't want you to have to worry about it. He goes, sure, no problem. And he listened, and I checked back with him. I was still a little bit concerned. And after a few hours, he goes, yeah. I said, do you like any of those? He goes, oh, yeah, this one, $4,000. Can I get these? Yeah. You don't know ultimately who's going to be able to make a purchase. I've learned that lesson numerous times.
Like you pointed out, the headphones cost more than his car. He parked in front, so you saw his car, right? So.
Oh, there's no doubt those headphones cost more than his car, but that's his priority is music, and I get that. If I lost everything today, all I need is my wife, my dog, a little tube integrated amp, and a pair of reasonable speakers. As long as I got a tube integrated amp and a pair of reasonable speakers, I'm golden. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
And these things can be done for a very reasonable price. You can get the top 10% of performance without spending the top 10% of money. And that is a fact. And you know that.
I do.
Because I think you have a good nose for getting that stuff attention.
I've been beating that drum.
Yeah.
But let's get back to my fantasy. My fantasy is that here in the middle of 2020, about to be the middle of 2020, are there people out there? Are there entrepreneurial men and women out there saying, you know what? I'm going to start. I'm laughing as I'm saying it. I think this would be a great time to go into the high-end audio business and have a little store. Maybe in my house, I could, make this room. Because Andy Singer, when he started in his mother's living room. She had a nice living room. But, I got a nice house, a nice living room, and maybe I can get, clips or something and start. Because I think people, what I'm sensing more than I anticipated was that people are hungry to buy audio right now. Here we are in probably still the early stages of COVID-19, and people are talking about buying audio and tubes, right? So you sell tubes, just naked tubes, not just tubes and amplifiers, but you just sell tubes. How's that business doing? Just selling?
Well, oh my God, we can't keep up with that. And frankly, vacuum tubes is what launched upscale audio, was just selling tubes because it was my passion and my love. I gotta say something. People always talk about the good old days in hi-fi. I think there's more imagination going on today. There's more brands of tube amplifiers today than in the history of mankind. It's a different time, and people get very uncomfortable about that. You have to do business different now, but it's such a creative time. Look at companies like Shit Audio and some of these little boutique things. Those couldn't have existed 30 years ago. They just didn't.
So you were telling me about some young dealers that you have, right?
Well, I mean, there are some young dealers that are really, really doing well. Owning a hi-fi store, this is the joke, right? How do you make a small fortune opening a hi-fi store?
Yeah.
Start out with a large fortune.
Right.
So most of these guys, they don't, and that's why I got to make a pleading to your readership. Please support your local folks because they're good people and they're doing this because they love it. Nobody opens a hi-fi store because it's a good business. Most of them eke out a reasonable living, if that, just an okay living. Not a lot of people do super well. We've been really fortunate to do real well, but most just eke out a living. And I hope you help them to that end. We really want that.
I would like to.
But there are some young guys. I mean, there's two right here in Los Angeles. There's a couple of dealers that are one in Pasadena. Well, Brian Burdan at Audio Element over in Pasadena. He was Brooks' son. And then there's another one, but his name slips my mind over here in Orange County. There's young people doing it.
Huh.
There's young people doing it. But you gotta bust your fanny. And you have to work really, really hard. There's a lot of good that's going to come out of this.
I think so. Yeah.
I think that we'll learn a little bit more about maybe not being so self-centered, I think. I know I have. I'll tell you why I'm feeling pretty good during this period, because it scared the bejesus out of me, because we just expanded huge. We doubled the size of our operation. My employees have gone from a small group to 22 people on the payroll. I've got, plus all the regional reps. I really stuck my neck out. I said, my God, business is so good. What could go wrong, right?
Yeah, who knew?
Right?
Right, exactly.
Move to a different house, lease another building, personally guarantee the lease, all of these things. What could go wrong? And I was really scared, but I know this. When I think about the recession, business still was reasonable. When I think about 9/11, all of these things that were going to tank business did not.
Because I listen all the time for working and stuff, and I do listen some portion of the day for my own pleasure. But I definitely feel that I can listen to music, and for a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, COVID-19 is not on my mind. I'm just totally into the music. It transports me. It takes me to another place. Oh, and by the way, it's funny. This morning I played Friday on My Mind, the Easy Beats. Remember that song? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it took me back because it was 1967. This week it was #1 in New York, that song. And so there was a list of the #1 songs. And I'm listening to that song, and I close my eyes, and I could be 18 years old again and be in my friend's car, and we would drive around, and I'd be tuning, he'd be driving, and I'd be tuning the radio, and there it would be. And I just had this feeling of like, I'm there again. It took me back to that experience of being in his 1961 Ford Falcon, this crappy little car, and just, it was perfect. He didn't need a better car. That was a great car for him at that moment. All right, I think we're good. My name's Steve Guttenberg. This is the Audiophiliac Daily Show. My guest today is Kevin Deal from Upscale Audio, and we had a great time together. Thank you guys for watching, and I will link to Kevin's store. You can find out about all of his cool stuff, and you should watch his videos. He makes some great videos. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Thank you again, Kevin, and I'll see you guys again real soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks.
Bye.